What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and we are back for another edition of MVP Sports Live right here on twitch.tv/MVPvids, or if you're watching on YouTube, you're watching on the MVP Sports YouTube channel. Either way, we're here for a jam-packed show. I am joined not by Dave Oster. We have 2 more days of Dave's vacation. Dave will be back on Monday. I'm not here with Jake. I'm not here with Brandon. I'm here with a special face. And obviously you can't see his face. If you watch MVP games live, you know what we're doing here and who this is. But I'm here with Soapy Muffin. Soapy, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. My throat hurts a little bit, but it's time to persevere through it.
That's not good. You were not feeling well earlier in the week. Then you were feeling good yesterday. Now your throat is sore. We got to get you what? Does Robitussin help for sore throat, or is that just like if you got the flu and shit?
I got no idea. To be brutally honest, I just know it doesn't aspirin help it, yes or no. If it doesn't, I just gotta suffer.
Okay, but we will suffer through this together, and we are not suffering through the fact that this is going to be pretty much an NBA only show, except for the very end, because of course we've got I'm going to call it the Chronicles of COVID in college football, because it seems like every day we've got some stupidness that's coming out with that. And stupidness, I mean colleges and ADs and board of directors and coaches and everything, putting their players in not the best ideals of situations, but it's going to be mainly an NBA show for today. Before we get started, got a bit of housekeeping for you. Number 1 brand new item on the docket when it comes to housekeeping as of right now, and if you are in Twitch chat, if you're a patron, you already know about this. If you're not a patron watching on Twitch chat, the link is going to be put into Twitch chat for you, but if you're on YouTube, it will be down below. As of today, we have officially opened up the Discord, or are opening up the Discord to everybody. That means every single person who wants to be in the MVP Discord will now have access to it. Great conversations going on with there. We used to only have it be a patron-only thing, but now we've decided to open up the Discord to everybody. Everyone can now come in, have the conversations in the text channels, but now the patrons at the $1 tier, they're the ones that get the reserved watch along, the voice channels basically is what they get access to for that $1 tier. But we are putting that in, and I am actually copying it, putting it into Twitch chat right now. So if you are in Twitch and you're not a part of the Discord, go ahead and join that Discord. It's a great time. And if you're watching on YouTube, that link is down below. Go ahead and do that right now. It's a great community. It's going to be the one place where the MVP community can come together and talk about everything that we love to talk about each and every day. Also, that leads me into patreon.com/MVPvids. If you want access to those voice channels, if you want to interact with the live shows, like the listener questions that are going to start up on Monday, the Patreon Wet Boy that we announce each and every week, you can get access to those. You can get access to early content. Our first early content will be dropping on Monday, NBA draft style. So you're going to totally want to get that content a week before everyone else. And also you can become a producer of both the live shows, MVP Sports Live and MVP Games Live. To do that, patreon.com/MVPvids. And then pretty much the same podcast services. These will be there when they are. Thank you for your patience. And check out MVP Entertainment if you have not already. If you're a sports fan that also likes nerd and entertainment news, go ahead and check out over there, because it is a great channel with the same personalities that you see here for MVP Sports. But Soapy, let's get into everything that we're talking about today. And the first thing we're taking a look at is NBA draft news. And I say that a little sarcastically because since we started MVP Sports Live, there has been people, where's the draft talk? Where's the draft talk? Where's the draft talk? It's coming. Draft content is coming out. Like I said, it'll be out August 24th, and next Monday you can get it a week early before everyone else. But we're talking about our first draft content here on the show, And we're taking a look at the Golden State Warriors. And this is from, so the article is from Inquisitor.com, but really this is coming from NBC Sports Bay Area, from their reporter, Tom Haberstroh. And basically what it says is, with the return of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson from injury and a chance to pick first overall in the 2020 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors appear poised to return to title contention after finishing with the league's worst record this season. On the other hand, many have opined the Warriors' best option would be to trade this year's first-round selection, and this includes NBC Sports' Tom Haberstroh, who also suggested including wingman Andrew Wiggins in the offer. The article then goes on to talk about the D'Angelo Russell trade, and before we get into the exact star that Haberstroh kind of mentioned, I just want to ask you, Soapy, if you're the Golden State Warriors, and let's say next Thursday, August 20th, they win the lottery and they get the first overall pick. If you're the Warriors, what are you doing? Are you making that pick and taking anybody, Wiseman, Edwards, Ball, or are you going to try to package that pick with Andrew Wiggins to get yourself a bigger star than what Wiggins already is?
I definitely think you package that pick. In my opinion, I don't think there's anyone in this draft right now, and I think I'm not trash talking the draft. Mm-hmm. I don't want that to come off that way. It's just, I don't know if there's anyone in this draft who's going to instantly make them better than what they could be. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I know for a while we talked about them getting Wiseman, and then they said, "Oh, we don't want Wiseman." Mm-hmm. And then we were like, "Oh, you guys are they're gonna take Anthony Edwards. We don't want Anthony Edwards. We don't want Ball." It's like, okay, who do you guys want?
Well, and the thing I'm gonna jump in really quick with is, you say the part of don't want Anthony Edwards. What was reported today, and this is through, this was through Connor Letro Newell, I hope that's how you say his name, from the San Francisco Chronicles. He basically wrote this: Golden State believes, per league source, that Edwards is one of the few players available in this draft who can contribute immediately and develop into a face of the franchise within the next few seasons. I don't know if that means, hey, they're really sold on Edwards, and it's really either trading for a star or drafting Edwards, or is this the Warriors trying to talk up Anthony Edwards because then another team would want to trade up for him, giving them a star and getting Wiggins in the process?
Yeah, I like to personally believe it's the second one. Obviously, I really like Anthony Edwards. I'd probably say he's my favorite player in this draft. Mm-hmm. And the Warriors talking him up, is just going to give that pick more value.
Yeah.
Because obviously a good chunk of people have him slated at number 1, number 2, number 3. Mm-hmm. It's him and Ball are the only ones that haven't, fallen from the original 3. And I think building up his value and getting teams to be like, you know what? Yeah, we really do need Edwards. And I think that could be something that they aim for, is make his value better, get it so he's having this more of a, how do I want to word this? He's not going to rival the same hype as Zion, but you start building up that hype of mm-hmm. Oh, he's the next great. He's this. You start doing that, more people want that pick.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they may be doing.
And I mean, one of the stars, I'll go ahead and mention it, that Haberstroh kind of mentioned was Pascal Siakam. Basically, he's saying the Warriors should trade Wiggins and their draft pick, whether it's first, second, third, or fourth, because it's got to be one of those. Furthest they can fall down is 4th overall if the worst possible scenario happens. He thinks they should trade this year's pick in Wiggins for Pascal Siakam. And Siakam right now would give them a player that they would need, I will say, because he fits into, you could have Steph and Klay be your backcourt, and you can basically have, although Pascal Siakam's technically listed as a power forward, I think that team could have him play at the 3, and then have Draymond at the 4, fill in the 5, or say, hey, Draymond's going to be our smaller 5, Pascal's going to be at the 4, and then we'll just find some shooter to put at the 3. Like, that would be the situation for the Warriors, but like, on the other end, if you're the Raptors, I don't know if I make that deal, because Andrew Wiggins, like, here's the thing that is the crux of this entire thing for me. How good is Andrew Wiggins? Like, realistically, how good is he? I know that he's good enough to be an NBA player. I know he's good enough to basically get the contract that he has, or had gotten the contract that he has. But I mean, I look at it and I go, how sought after is Andrew Wiggins by teams? Because so far his NBA career hasn't been anything to write home about. But yet again, is it just a fact of, since he got into the league, he hasn't really found a home? He was drafted by Cleveland. Cleveland traded him right away because LeBron was coming home. Then Wiggins had good years with the T-Wolves, but it never amounted to anything. It was kind of rocky at some points. And now he's with Golden State because the T-Wolves wanted D'Angelo Russell. Like, I'll ask you, where do you see Wiggins' trade value? Like, should it be high, medium, low? Like, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna stick to like medium low, and the reason why is because of the production you get from him when he actually cares is really good. Like, Wiggins, I would say, is a really solid player. Like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, he's gonna be a future All-Star or anything, but like, he's a solid player. Like, he can be an okay starter. He'd be a really good bench player. Like, obviously, there may be a little bit of an ego or something there, so he doesn't come off the bench. Who knows? But I think the main thing that tanks his trade value is that contract. And it's mostly just because that contract is, that's a bad one.
147
Josh Smith is
million.
smiling on that, man.
Yeah, 147
Josh Smith is smiling, and he's
years.
like, get that money, man.
Yeah, and I just mean, if I'm the Raptors, I say no to that. Only because if I'm the Raptors right now, like, I saw that and I was like, why would the Raptors even do that? Because the Raptors lose Kawhi. We all think they were not going to be a playoff team. And now they're second in the East. And now heading into the playoffs after the bubble, many are now, and of course here on MVP Sports Live, we've talked about it, at least Dave and I had, where it's basically you look at it and we even think that the Celtics or the Raptors have a better chance of coming out of the East than the Bucks do, and the Bucks are the number 1 seed. So, like, I look at that first off, and I agree with you. The contract is huge, but there's got to be a team willing to trade up for it. The only other trade, and I know that when I brought up this topic, I tried really hard, Soapy. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to open up Trade Machine the entire day. I'm just not going to do it because that's going to create a rabbit hole that nobody wants to see right now. And I will tell you, I have not opened up the Trade Machine, but I opened it up here. And the only scenario I can think of a team like, and I don't even know if the Warriors would want this value, because the Warriors are looking for someone like Pascal Siakam, a star that would be under contract that they could mesh with their already roster of stars, Steph and Clay and Draymond. But there's a part of me that looks here, and I want to just think about this for a second. I want you to tell me how wrong I am, because it's about the Bulls. Do you think there's an intriguing offer for the Warriors out there, like a team like Chicago, where I would have to check if it would work, but if, like, let's say Chicago is 7th, let's say nothing changes and Chicago is 7th, would the Warriors be interested in a deal where it's like, hey, we'll take on Wiggins' contract, we're going to need the first overall pick for doing that, but in return you will get a trade that nets you a player like Zach LaVine, and Lauri Markkanen. Of course, there might be more players, like you might need to include a Thad Young in there to soak up some contract. I don't know about, like, maybe Zach's is big enough. I would have to look in the trade machine. But would a team like the Bulls, maybe like Charlotte, like Detroit, be able to get their name into the discussion and be able to trade with the Warriors to move up in the draft in order to get a Wiseman, Edwards, or Ball?
So, I'm just gonna say, I think at that point, and I'm not trying to be a dick when I say
Be
it.
a dick.
I
Be
think,
a dick.
I think the value that you put on Levine and Lowry, I don't think either of those players are worth a number 1 overall pick.
Oh, they're not. They're not. But, like, maybe we throw it. No, we're not trading future picks. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But yeah, I know Zach and Lowry aren't number 1 pick, but like, do you basically is like hey, we're giving you players that will help you, but also we're taking on a contract we don't necessarily want in Wiggins.
Yeah, and I feel teams like the Bulls and teams that, especially at that point, if they trade away their best player and arguably their second best player,
Yeah.
like, they're bad enough that you can kind of accept your team having a bad contract. Because obviously you're not competing for anything. You're not trying to fill out the roster. You are able to stomach stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think something like that, I don't think that taking that contract would make that first pick worthy, because it's not like, oh, we're trading this to a really good team. Like, this is hey, if you trade both these players, there's no way in hell you make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, I just thought, hey, is there a chance that a team it might not be like a star like Siakam, but is there a chance a team like that is able to get their name into the pot? And that's why I threw it out there. But we're going to move on from the draft. We're going to go into some pretty shocking, I'm going to say shocking news. When it came across my Twitter feed, I was shocked by it. I was also a little alarmed at the timing of it, but we'll get into it right now, Soapy. So this is from Yahoo Sports, and it's actually the tweet that they have is actually from the ex-wife of Adrian Griffin, Adrian Griffin coached his first game as head coach last night for the Raptors against the Sixers, in a game I believe they won. And after the game, after it was all done, Aubrey Griffin is her name. She put out a tweet that says, how can someone do all of this and get away with it? And she added everybody. Steve Clark of the MLB, CBC News, KCJ Hoops is in there for the Bulls. Smith Raps is in there. Bulls J is there. The at Raptors is in there. There is a ton of people tagged. But basically, here's what the picture reads. It says, how can someone tell their child to hate another parent? How can someone not follow court order and continue life as normal? How can someone not send support but then send a $200 Visa card to their child so they can eat for a few days? How can someone continuously get away with abuse, almost take a life, choking them while on the floor and almost passes out, throw them into a wall, making a hole as big as their body, drag them across a lawn while pregnant, drag them out of the house in their PJs in 0 below weather while their child holds their feet and the other children run away in fear, then locking them out of the house and the child lets them in when they go to sleep. Choke them, holding them against the wall while their feet are off the ground, throw a 4-foot ceramic vase at them that shatters an entire door glass panel, breaks down locked doors to get to them, gives them STDs, sleeps with prostitutes, sleeps with a teenage ball girl, and even though you have receipts for everything, how can you do all of this and still get away with it. I will tell you how. Just be in the NBA and win a game in the bubble. Cinderfella. That's how. Simple. Soapy, I'm just going to ask you before I give my thoughts on this. What are your thoughts?
Being in a situation like that is something that it's fucked. If this is real, fuck this guy. I don't care what he's done. Like, if there's even a slight chance that this is false, that's fucked to blame someone for. Like, I'm not gonna just play one side of the ball. You know, it's everyone needs to understand. You know, there's two sides to every ball game. You know, it's if this is real, fuck Adrian Griffin. If it's a lie, fuck whoever accused him. It's stuff like this is not anything to play with. Because this ruins careers. I'm not defending Adrian Griffin until we know if he did it or not. But it's a can of worms, and obviously this is a pretty fucked up can of worms. I don't exactly know where to stand on it.
Yeah, I'm in a similar spot of what the last thing you said. I don't know where to stand on it. And the reason being is I agree with you. If this is true, fuck Adrian Griffin shouldn't have a job in the NBA. Like, that's just how I feel. Shouldn't. But here were the range of thoughts that went through my head. And I said them to you before we went on. Maybe the comment section can help me with my line of thought, whether I'm right or wrong for thinking this, because there's always a right or wrong with people in the comment section. But here was my mindset. My first thought was basically, the timing of this just doesn't feel right. Where I know that, like, everything with, like, Me Too and stuff, like, coming out against domestic abuse, coming out against sexual abuse is not super easy. It's not like you can just say, oh, well, I'm just going to fucking tell someone today. Like, it's just, it ain't that easy. Especially if it's a situation where you feel trapped. So that was my first thought of, like, all right, the timing of this seems a little suspect, only because it came out the day after he was the head coach of his first game. My second thought was basically kind of in the lines of, did he do it? Did he not do it? But I forget the exact way I thought about it. I told it to you before the show, and I even forgot it before I told you, and I remembered it. Because my last thought was the one you had of, if it's true, fuck Adrian Griffin, shouldn't have a job. I remember the second thought. The second thought was, is this something that happened like 18 years ago? And Adrian Griffin has grown from it. I know that in some people's minds, that's not possible. Once a domestic abuser, always a domestic abuser. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Stuff like that. But that was a thought that crossed my mind of, like, was there personal growth there? Was he a different person 10 to 20 years ago than he is right now? And that's kind of the thing, like, the second thought I had. And then the third one was, fuck Adrian Griffin if he did it. And I think, like, that's the main thing that sucks about the story. I wanted to mention it on the show today because it's a major thing to talk about. Like, this is something that is big news because Adrian Griffin his name's being thrown around in coaching jobs. The Bulls, like, I mean, from what we saw Sam post in our MVP Discord, I didn't find the article that said this, but the Bulls might have taken him off their short list for coaching candidates, which I know you're going to say we're stuck with Jim Boylan anyways.
Yes,
yeah, we are. But this could impact his career. So this is a part where, like I said, wanted to mention it, wanted to get our thoughts on it. Fuck him if he did. But yet again, it's on the other side of, if he didn't do it, or if this was something where it was like, yeah, this happened like 15 years ago and I've learned from it and I'm not that same person anymore. If it's any of those two situations, then it's kind of like why are you trying to ruin this man's life? kind of a thing. And then it turns into fuck the ex-wife kind of a thing. So I wanted to bring it up. Obviously, we want to know what you guys think also down below in the comment section. But I wanted to bring that up before we go into actual basketball news. And before we go into the basketball news, Soapy, we're just going to do our usual segment that we do. This is a segment where we give player of the week nods. And these are our wet boys, our dampest of dudes, our soggiest of shooters, our mistiest of misses. These are our wet boys. Soapy's going to give a wet boy. I'm going to give a wet boy. And then the patrons at patreon.com, silver tier and above, they all voted today, and they are going to give you a wet boy also. So, Soapy, I'm going to kick it off to you. You can have the floor. Who is your wet boy for August 13th? 2020.
I think I'm probably the first person to give a wet boy to a loser.
Maybe. I don't even know. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think you are.
Yeah, I'd have to go through again, but my wet boy is James Harden. Had a phenomenal game. Turnovers ain't the best. We're not gonna act. We're just gonna
James
ignore
Harden. James Harden always turns over the ball, right?
Yeah. 45 points, 17 rebounds, 9 assists, 62% from the field, 50% from three. Man, that's MVP numbers. He ain't the MVP, but those are MVP-esque numbers. It's almost like James Harden's a top 5 player.
You know who's rock hard right now? Like, sitting in his chair, rock hard, not even trying to hide the erection, Soapy. You know who's rock hard right now? Dave, because Dave loves when James Harden, gets love. Like, Dave hardens when Harden gets love. So Dave is going to love that you basically gave James Harden a wet boy for today. 1 assist away from a trip dub. I'm just going to throw that out there. 1 assist away from the trip dub. If he maybe found his teammates one more time, they need to have that trip dub. That's me trying to throw
Or if his teammates made one more shot.
Or that. But so my wet boy, Soapy, I told you at the beginning of the show, we are going to have some more inclusion. Just call me Mr. Inclusion when it comes to wet boys, because so far my wet boys and my Misty Miss, we've seen a WNBA player. We saw our first MLB player by me. We saw our first golfer by me.
Hashtag not a real wet boy.
And today, Soapy, we have another sport getting into the wet boy craze. But this guy's not exactly wet, you would say. This guy's more like a freezing boy. He's got ice in the veins. He's on ice.
It's hockey.
It's hockey. Patrice Bergeron. Patrice Bergeron in game 1, I want to say it was, between them and the Carolina Hurricanes. The legend, as the play-by-play announcer says, the legend of Patrice Bergeron lives on. This guy's been making game-winning shots for the Bruins his entire career. Does it last night. Gets a beautiful, beautiful pass in double overtime to get the win for the Boston Bruins. He only had 1 goal, but he had 2 points. He assisted on one of the other ones. And he got the GWG, Soapy. The GWG, the game-winning goal, the one that gave the Bruins the 1-0 series lead over the Hurricanes. So I had to give it to him. The dude's been a beast his entire career. He's just adding to it. He is adding to it with this game-winning goal from last night. And that brings us to our third wet boy, the patron wet boy. And Soapy, it is a clean, different sport for each wet boy. This one coming from the Diamond. And we got Bo Bichette of the Toronto Blue Jays. So JD, one of our patrons, is going to be unhappy and unhappy. He's going to be unhappy that I gave it to a Boston Bruin because he's a Maple Leafs fan. But at least JD, one of our patrons from Toronto, will be happy that Bo Bichette is a wet boy for today. 5 for 5 in his game yesterday. 3 runs, a ribby, 2 stolen bases. And he had a big fly as well. So those are your wet boys, James Harden, Patrice Bergeron, and Bo Bichette for August 13th, 2020. And Soapy, we're going to move right on into more basketball, obviously. And we're taking a look at, we haven't talked about something like this in quite some time. We had Jonathan Isaac last week was injured. We talked about Jaren Jackson Jr.'s injury on the show. We got another injury update for you, and that is Russell Westbrook is injured. So Woj tweeted this out. As Jonathan Fegan reports, sources say Russell Westbrook is expected to minimally miss the start of Houston's first-round series with his strained right quad muscle. Westbrook's return will depend upon how he responds to treatment. So, Soapy, I'm going to ask you, when it comes to a worriness that the Rockets should have, or how much does this hurt the Rockets in their first playoff series? Is this a big hit, a medium hit, or a low hit for the Rockets?
I think right now it's a medium, and I think it mostly just depends because they said, oh, my dog's barking.
You're fine.
I think it's a medium hit, and I think it's just because it depends on back.
Was that you or was that me?
I don't know.
Okay. I left also, so I'm just going to have you pick up right where you left off, and fuck it, people are just going to have to be okay with how the sausage is made today. It's a very bad sausage today. It's a rough one.
Yeah, I think it's a medium hit if he's able to come back. Big hit if he can't, because obviously, like I said, you lose your second best player. You lose, like, James Harden's running mate.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because they match up against OKC, right?
Yes.
I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, who's their backup point guard? Austin Rivers?
I mean, Austin hasn't been playing terribly. He had his best game a couple of games ago.
But he's about to run into the man who chased him into the tunnel, Chris Paul.
I mean,
and now they're both stuck in Orlando, dude. It's over. He's going to find some secret tunnels.
Oh, man, that's even a bigger throwback. That's a throwback to Game of Zones. With the whole locker room brawl when CP3 was in LA. But, like, to me, I think I'm gonna go with what you said for the draft talk. This is a medium low blow for the Rockets. And the reason why I say medium low is the OKC Thunder are a team. We're going to get into them in a hot second. This is going to kind of lead into some Thunder talk, but the first round is not the worry for me if I'm the Houston Rockets. I believe that James Harden by himself can power the Rockets through to the second round. I believe that. And like when they say the start of next series, if it's like best case scenario and Westbrook only misses like 2, maybe 3 games, and he's back by game 4, then everything's fine because I don't think the Thunder are going to come out and basically go up 3-0 on the Rockets. At worst, I see the Rockets at 1-2 or at 2-1 on the series at best after 3. But I have a feeling that this isn't going to be the death sentence. Now, if he misses some of the second round, if it's like worst case scenario and he keeps after missing time, the longer it goes, the more I'm worried. But when it comes to James Harden and how good he is, I feel like James Harden alone can get the job done in the first round. And that's going to lead me to this next question, Soapy, is Kingy says it in the Twitch chat, don't sleep on OKC. And Soapy, I want to ask you, are we overlooking the Oklahoma City Thunder? And when I say we, I just mean the collective group of, is everyone in the NBA world overlooking OKC? And is this going to be OKC's chance to pounce and make a playoff run?
I don't think I don't agree with I think it's Rowan in Discord and Twitch. Yeah. I don't think they overachieved. I think they finished right where they could. I think people are overlooking them. because I believe OKC. Yeah, I think I'd have to check it. I think OKC does have statistically the best perimeter defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really good to match up into a team that is entirely 3-point shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd rather run the risk of Harden dropping 60 on me, but no one else in the team scores,
mm-hmm.
than it just being basically a shootout between both teams.
Well, and the thing I'm going to throw out there is the thing that helps with that is I'm trying to think of his name. He was injured for like 2 years. What was his name? Not Rocco.
Roberson.
Getting him back is huge because he's just big defensively for them. But I think the thing, and to kind of pull, like you said, Rowan from chat in here, is I don't think the Thunder overachieved. I think they outplayed our expectations. Because, like, even Dave brought it up when we talked about the Thunder last week, of, like, I even said on the fast break before we took our hiatus of, like, before the season started, like, don't worry, Thunder aren't going to do much. They're going to trade Chris Paul by the deadline. They're going to be blowing it up, getting draft picks, Sam Presti style. And that hasn't been the Thunder. The Thunder have been in the playoff seedings for pretty much the entire year. And I don't think it's just like like I said, it's not in, hey, they overachieved. It was I think we've been overlooking the Thunder the entire year from the start. And they just outplayed our expectations. Like, we should have been giving them the respect that they deserve. And I'll be the first to say it because I was the first one of the first, I think, with Sean, to basically say this team is going to be a kind of a fire sale. And they're going to be basically selling everything. Well, selling the, like, old pieces, like CP3 being one of them, and just getting some draft capital. I even said that, like, looking at their summer league. I was like, ooh, we're looking at the future Thunders because they're not going to do much this year. So, like, I don't know if you feel the same, but, like, I feel like they just outplayed our expectations, and they can beat the Rockets if the Rockets overlook them, in my mind.
Yeah, I fall in the exact same mindset of, I think, like, I didn't expect the Thunder to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, okay, you have Chris Paul, like, you're probably going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And also, I've also have always been aligned with Retro when it comes to being a big Shai Gilgeous-Alexander fan.
Dave, too. So, Dave loves SGA. We'll throw Dave's name in there, too.
Yeah, it's always been a big fan of him. I saw his improvement, and I was super excited for it. Then it's just looking at that team on paper, like, I fully agree. This does not look like a team that would go that far. Because, like, obviously, we know Gallo from Denver, he was okay when he was there. I mean, I say okay, not like that's, like, the best point for him or not. And then I think he went to the Clippers afterwards. He was okay there. And then all of a sudden he's on OKC, it's like, wow, okay. Like, he's kind of had, like, a career renaissance. And that's something that I think a lot of people were not misunderstanding, but, like, underestimating is OKC almost appeared to, like, revitalize people's careers because, like, Chris Paul is, like, not as good as he used to be, but, like, he's not as bad as we thought he'd be.
And the next thing we're going to kind of move on into is, first off, I just want to apologize on YouTube. I don't know how this is exactly going to be pieced together. It might be a very choppy YouTube video, only because today we've had technical difficulties up the wazoo. So for everyone watching on YouTube, thank you guys. And everyone watching on Twitch, thank you guys for bearing with us when it comes to this. I don't know what the issue is, just to take a little bit out of this for an update. It's basically my tab. Like, every internet thing in my house is not affected except for my Streamlabs and my Discord. That's it. And really, it's been more of the Streamlabs than it has been the Discord. So I want to thank you guys for kind of bearing with us while we're going through these technical difficulties today. But Soapy, kind of a little short one here before we get into the kind of bigger coaching news. But the real short one is that the Celtics signed Brad Stevens to an extension. This from Tim Bontemps from ESPN. Boston Celtics have signed Coach Brad Stevens to a contract extension, the team announced on Wednesday. Brad is one of the most intelligent and hardworking coaches in the game, Celtics president of operations Danny Ainge said in a statement. More importantly, his character and integrity have contributed to a culture that we all are highly value here. Brad is a great teammate and a leader people want to follow. We are honored to have him with us as we continue to pursue our next championship. Soapy, it's a great move. This is a no-brainer on my end for the Boston Celtics. But what are your thoughts on the Brad Stevens kind of extension? Is he going away like a runaway train? Is this kind of like a, hey, man, Celtics are going all the way to the top now?
Yeah, that was me hopping on the train to the Celtics bandwagon.
Okay.
Because I'm tired of the Pistons being bad.
Oh, man. At least it's not jumping on the Bulls bandwagon because, like, Piston fans.
Oh, yeah, I'd be going from a shit situation to a shit situation, so.
I mean, yeah, one's not better than the other. But I don't know about you. This is just a me of, like, duh, of course they were going to do this.
Yeah. I mean, Stevens is one of the best coaches in the NBA. I don't know why, like, people would act surprised they re-signed him.
But Soapy, let's move on into the next topic that we do have more coaching news of. According to Shams, the Nets, who I will say they are ones that overachieved this year, where they shouldn't have made the playoffs with Kyrie being out and Durant being out and then DeAndre Jordan not playing in the bubble with them. This should have been a team that shouldn't have had anywhere to be near the playoffs, and they got to the 7th seed without Durant and without Kyrie. Shams, though, has some early news about who could be the next head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. And according to Shams, early candidates for the gig include Los Angeles Lakers assistant Jason Kidd, Philadelphia 76er assistant Ime Udoka, hope I said that name right. Sixer fans, correct me if I haven't. And then Clippers assistant Ty Lue and former Rockets and Knicks coach Jeff Van Gundy. So these are not all the names. These are just the headliners that are kind of being thrown out there. CBS Sports also throws in that incumbent coach Jacquez Vaughn is also expected to get serious consideration to retain the job. Vaughn was named Brooklyn's interim head coach in early March after the Nets and Kenny Atkinson mutually agreed to part ways. So, Soapy, I'll ask you, if you're the Nets, what are you doing? You keeping Vaughn, or are you going after any of the names listed? Kidd, Udoka, Lue, or Van Gundy?
Man, like that's just that almost just sounds like a meme team right there, to be brutally honest with you. Of just like, that's not the collection of names you'd expect to see for a team that next year, when they're fully healthy, could be one of the best in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, you don't expect to see Jason Kidd, a guy who got fired from being a coach because he wasn't that good of a coach. Ty Lue, that we already know, basically didn't coach. He just was like, yes, LeBron. No, LeBron. Jeff Van Gundy. The only reason I'd want Jeff Van Gundy is just so I don't have to hear him on commentary anymore.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, but do you have to hear him what coaches' interviews?
Yeah, but like, I can ignore those.
Yeah, you can ignore.
Yeah, I can.
You can't ignore them through an entire game, but little parts of games, I guess you could.
Yeah, and I'm not too familiar with the 76ers person. I already forgot the name.
It's IME, and then the last name is Udoka. I'm just saying it wrong. That's why I'm spelling it out there for you, because I know already I'm probably saying it wrong.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the 76ers person. Obviously, I probably should have done some more research, but, you know, who needs research anyway? So I got through high school with B's and C's with no research.
I mean, for me though, like that's the name I kind of throw to the side. Not getting a chance here because for me, to me, Jason Kidd and Ty Lue are at the top of the list, and this is me just thinking as like the Nets, basically executives and stuff. Of Vaughn would be in there, Kidd and Lue, because Jeff Van Gundy, last time he was a coach, it was a very different NBA. So unless he's going to do something that like Dan Antoni's do it with the Rockets, I kind of look at him and I go, nah, you're only hiring him. You're only hiring him if you think that Kevin Durant needs more of like I don't want to say like needs more than a yes man, because you're right. Ty Lue's the one that I was kind of like, that's the one they make the head coach out of here because he's worked with the biggest star in the NBA before. However, my thought process is pretty much LeBron is different than KD. We saw KD with the Warriors. KD is a mind frame that needs to be told things sometimes. Like the example that I kind of go through is the time we saw Steve Kerr basically he told Kevin Durant that, hey, like one time Michael Jordan did this, and then kind of like brought Kevin Durant up, brought him up to the moment where you don't need to bring LeBron up to the moment. LeBron's already there. So if you feel like you need someone to coach up KD and bring him up to big moments, then yeah, Van Gundy might be your guy. Otherwise, I go with Ty Lue, because Ty Lue, at least out of these coaches, has been the recent head coach that has worked with a star of KD's caliber in LeBron James.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't know how to explain. Also, because I didn't hear 99% of what you said, because my thing disconnected.
Yeah, I basically said Ty Lue because he's worked with LeBron, unless you think that Kevin Durant needs to basically be motivated and pushed up for big moments. Where LeBron, you don't got to coach up LeBron. LeBron's going to be ready when the time comes. Kevin Durant might be a little bit more fragile in that sense than LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just LeBron's always seemed like more of a coach than KD. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, I don't mean that as a slight or anything towards Kevin Durant.
Some players aren't coaches.
Yeah, and it's seeing, because like for instance, we've seen videos like LeBron literally break down plays that he's never seen before. Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna say like, oh, Durant's dumb and doesn't know, but like, he may not be able to do that as well as LeBron could. Mm-hmm. So I think it's gonna be interesting who they pick. I don't know. Like, personally, for me, I wouldn't go Ty Lue, and that's just because I know Ty Lue's not a good coach.
Yeah, but can he? And this is not about getting the best coach. It's getting the right coach for the job. And is Ty Lue good enough to get the most out of KD and Kyrie? Plus, he already has a relationship with Kyrie that might be more important, because we all know how things happened in Boston, where maybe having a coach like Ty Lue that Kyrie's already familiar with might be best for Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, but at the same time, I also kind of think, like, who do you need to cater towards more?
Kyrie.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Like, yet again, another jump cut. I feel like I'm back in the studio when we weren't doing these live, and I'm fucking at wit's ends, guys. I don't know what to do with this. I gotta figure these technical difficulties out, because I can't do days like this for much longer. But I think the bottom line is, do I like any of these coaches? God, no. But if I have to pick one of them, I guess Ty Lue would be the guy that I kind of be like, well, he's the one that I'd pick. But to end the show, Soapy, I kind of wanted to go into a little bit of college football, if that's okay with you. I know you're mostly an NBA guy. And the reason why is I'm calling it basically the Chronicles of a COVID season or Chronicles of COVID Stupidity in College Football. I think that's a better name for it. because we've got 3 stories, and not all of these are stupidity. Most of them are stupidity. This first one is, though, that apparently they're... So from ESPN, the delicate balance of player safety and pushing forward with football might have hit a tipping point at Florida State, where 3 wide receivers, including star Tamarian Terry, have publicly spoken out about a lack of transparency in coronavirus testing at the school. On Wednesday night, DJ Matthews tweeted that he had tested positive for COVID, but the tweet was quickly deleted. He followed Thursday morning with a second tweet suggesting lies within the program. Terry retweeted Matthews and offered his own vague concerns, writing, "I can't believe this." Warren Thompson offered some clarity in an open letter to Florida State, saying he had been lied to about testing and health protocols on multiple occasions. Our leadership is based off an I mentality, with them only worried about their own futures rather than our athletes, Thompson wrote. I have been ridiculed about speaking up regarding this issue, and it needs to be addressed for myself to safely continue this season. The players' tweets came while the rest of the team was practicing Thursday morning. After practice, Coach Mike Norvell criticized the public commentary, repeatedly calling it disappointing and saying that while we had not read the language specifically, we had been told some content was untrue. Norvell said he did not learn of the tweets until he left practice. Soapy, I'm just going to ask you, what are your thoughts on this? Because for me, this is something where, like when we talked about the Adrian Griffin thing, that to me is like, okay, obviously until we get the details about it, there might be some like, hey, someone's lying here. In this case, why would players lie about this? Why would they say that their school isn't doing enough for corona testing when the only thing that's like the school isn't at fault if they're not testing properly, the player's health is. So what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that the players are right to come out, not to come out? Who are you kind of siding with, the school or the players here?
The players. And it's simply because they're the ones who were shoulder to shoulder with each other on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the coaching staff obviously could get it from the players, but guess what? If you get it from the players, that means your players are still at risk.
Yeah.
Wow! What a coincidence, right? It's almost like people need to stop being a fucking idiot about this whole thing and just understand. COVID bad!
Mm-hmm.
No argument. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Bad!
I don't know why people can't just seem to wrap their fucking heads around the fact of, like, hey, you know, if, like, especially when you're in Florida, one of the hot spots, maybe you shouldn't have sports.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I know people would be like, but the NBA bubble's there. Fuck you, for one. And two, understand.
Did you have to say it in that voice, though?
No, yes. Like, it's just understand. Literally, if players are feeling unsafe, do something. Don't just be like, oh, they're just being whiny babies. It's like, it's just like I said. People, use your goddamn brain. We have it. Humans may only be able to use like 30% of our brain. Use 29.99% of that to get your head out of your ass, and then use the last percent to realize, hey, maybe you shouldn't use the fact that these players can still opt out. It's these people have like pro aspirations. They want to go pro. The only reason I think college players aren't fighting back is like they want a chance to showcase their abilities. And some of these people are seniors. They're never going to get this chance to play professional football again. Some of the people in college basketball, if they didn't cancel the season or anything, they want a final chance to play the season. I don't know why some people can't grasp the idea. If players are not feeling safe, address it. don't fucking sit here and try to like silence someone and be like, no. See, COVID bad, but your opinion bad.
Yeah,
It's just like understand.
I think it's stupid.
Dude, people piss me off.
I think it's stupid. Like, hey guys, that's gonna do it for MVP Sports Live today. If you're on YouTube, this is probably a very abrupt end, and I do want to thoroughly apologize. First off, to everyone watching on Twitch, because like this is not the kind of content I want to put out. Like, obviously, I thought Soapy and I did well today. Soaps, you did great as always.
Thanks, dog.
I just like, I'm frustrated right now at these technical difficulties, and I want to apologize to you first because this has been a bad stream quality wise. For you on YouTube, I also want to apologize because it's probably going to be editor Ricky, high future Ricky, editing this, is going to have to work some magic to kind of piece this together. And I just want to apologize because this is not the product technical wise that I want out there, that I know Soapy wants out there, that Dave wants out there. So I just want to apologize for that. Of course, it's stuff that we can't control, but I still feel shitty about it. And that's going to do it for MVP Sports Live, because I'm going to try to fix this before games live. Remember everything I said at the beginning, patreon.com/MVPvids. Also, make sure to follow MVP Entertainment if you're a nerd who also likes sports, because that's our nerdy side of MVP. And also, link down below, join the Discord channel, talk to everyone in the MVP family. We have all our great conversations in there, and we're opening that up now to everybody. I want to thank Soapy for coming on. Soapy will be back tomorrow with me. Hopefully, it's a better technical day than it was today. But we will see you tomorrow for another jam-packed MVP Sports Live. And as always, have a good day, everybody.